Get up even when you don't feel ready, because discipline is not built on motivation. It is built on decisions made in moments of resistance. Most people wait for the right mood, the right energy, or the right time to begin. But the truth is that progress starts the moment you move, before comfort gives you permission. Every successful life you admire was shaped by someone who chose action on ordinary days, when nothing exciting was happening and no one was watching. Somewhere right now, someone is winning simply because they refused to delay. They are not more talented, not more gifted, and not more fortunate than you. They just stopped negotiating with excuses. They understood that waiting feels safe, but it quietly steals your future. Time does not pause for hesitation, and opportunity does not return to those who were almost ready. Discipline is not loud or dramatic. It doesn't need motivation speeches or perfect conditions. It shows up quietly, early, and consistently. It does the work on days that feel boring, repetitive, and uncomfortable. And those days matter more than the exciting ones, because boring days are where habits are formed and character is built. Anyone can feel motivated for a moment, but only disciplined people move forward when motivation fades. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your daily standards. If your standards are low, your results will follow. If your standards are high, your life has no choice but to improve. That is why success looks simple from the outside, but feels difficult on the inside. It demands consistency when your mind wants comfort and focus when distraction feels easier. Confidence is not something you wait for, it is something you earn. Every time you finish what you started, you strengthen trust in yourself. Every time you quit early, you weaken it. Self-trust is built through follow-through, not intention. You don't become disciplined and then take action. You take action, and discipline is forged through repetition. Momentum is created by small, intentional actions done daily, not by rare bursts of extreme effort. Slow progress still counts. Quiet effort still counts. Working without recognition still counts. Most people underestimate how powerful consistency is because it feels unimpressive in the moment, but over time it becomes unstoppable. Missed days compound just like productive ones do. Your mind will resist change because it is designed to protect comfort, not create greatness. That resistance is not a sign to stop. It is proof that growth is happening. Learning to move forward despite resistance is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. When you train yourself to act even when it feels heavy, you separate yourself from the majority who quit when things feel difficult. Think about the person you want to be 1 year from now. That version of you is not built by big promises or dramatic plans, but by the small decisions you make today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Every focused hour, every completed task, every disciplined choice moves you closer to that future version. You don't need to do everything at once. You just need to do the next right thing with intention and commitment. Progress does not require perfection. It requires persistence. The discomfort you feel now is temporary, but the regret of not trying lasts far longer. Stay focused when distraction is everywhere. Stay disciplined when motivation is gone. Stay consistent when results feel slow. This is how momentum is built, and momentum changes everything. Get up, get it done, and repeat the process tomorrow with the same quiet determination. If this audiobook helps you stay disciplined, focused, and mentally sharp, support the channel by subscribing. This channel exists to help you build discipline, clarity, and unstoppable momentum through long-form motivational audiobooks designed for real life, real work, and real growth. Discipline becomes powerful when it turns into identity. When you stop saying, "I'm trying," and start saying, "This is who I am," everything shifts. You no longer debate whether to show up or not because showing up is part of your character. High performers don't rely on willpower every day. They build routines that remove decision-making from the process. When your actions are automatic, progress becomes inevitable. Most people exhaust themselves by overthinking instead of executing. They plan, analyze, and wait for certainty, but certainty only appears after movement. Action creates clarity. Motion sharpens focus. The fastest way to escape confusion is to do the work in front of you. When you act, your mind adapts. When you wait, your doubts multiply. You will not always feel strong, confident, or motivated. That is normal. Strength is not the absence of weakness. It is the ability to move forward despite it. Some days your only victory will be showing up, and that is enough. Showing up builds resilience. Resilience builds confidence. Confidence builds momentum. Consistency is a promise you keep to yourself. And every promise you keep increases your self-respect. When self-respect is strong, discipline becomes easier. You stop needing external validation because you trust yourself. You know that if something matters, you will handle it. That inner certainty is rare, and it is built slowly through repetition. Distraction is the enemy of depth. Focus is what turns effort into results. You don't need more hours in the day. You need fewer distractions in the hours you already have. When you protect your attention, your productivity increases naturally. Focused work compounds faster than scattered effort ever will. The difference between average and exceptional is not talent, it is tolerance for discomfort. Exceptional people stay with the task longer. They don't escape the moment when work becomes challenging. They lean into it. That extra time spent pushing through resistance is where real growth happens. You don't need to be extreme or perfect to succeed. You need to be reliable. Reliable to your goals, reliable to your schedule, reliable to your standards. Reliability turns discipline into trust, and trust turns effort into long-term success. Every day you practice discipline, you are teaching your mind that you are in control. You are no longer reacting to impulses or emotions. You are choosing direction, and direction matters more than speed. Even slow movement in the right direction eventually changes your life. There will be days when progress feels invisible, when results don't match effort, when it feels like nothing is happening. Those days are not wasted. They are building the foundation. Growth often happens quietly before it becomes visible. Trust the process you are committing to. You are not behind. You are building. And building takes time. Stay patient with the process and strict with your standards. The future you want is closer than it feels, but only if you keep moving forward without negotiating with excuses. If this audiobook is helping you stay focused and disciplined, take a moment to support the channel by subscribing. This channel is dedicated to long-form motivational audiobooks designed to help you stay consistent, focused, and mentally strong while you work, train, or plan your future. Discipline is not about forcing yourself every moment. It is about reducing the friction between intention and action. When your environment supports your goals, effort feels lighter. That is why successful people design their days with purpose. They place themselves in situations where the right action becomes the easiest action. Small adjustments in routine often create massive changes in output. You don't need to win the entire day in one moment. You only need to win the moment you are in. Focus on the task directly in front of you, give it your full attention, and let the rest wait. When you stay present, anxiety fades and effectiveness rises. Presence is power, and power comes from focus. The habit of finishing what you start is one of the most underrated skills in life. Completion builds confidence in a way motivation never can. Every finished task sends a message to your mind that you are capable, dependable, and in control. Over time, that message becomes belief, and belief changes behavior. You may feel tired, overwhelmed, or uncertain, but those feelings do not define your ability. Feelings are temporary signals, not permanent truths. What defines you is what you do, despite how you feel. The ability to act under pressure, fatigue, or doubt is what separates those who grow from those who stay stagnant. Most people fear consistency because it exposes who they really are. It removes excuses. It forces accountability. When you commit to showing up daily, You confront your limits and slowly expand them. This is not easy, but it is transformative. Discipline does not restrict freedom, it creates it. When you manage your time intentionally, you begin to respect it. Time is not something you find, it is something you protect. Protecting your time means saying no to distractions, to unnecessary obligations, and to habits that drain your energy without giving anything back. Time respected is time multiplied. There will be moments when quitting feels reasonable, justified, and even logical. Those moments are tests, not tests of talent, but of commitment. Every time you stay when it would be easier to leave, you reinforce your identity as someone who finishes. That identity is powerful. Your progress may be slow, but it is real. Growth is rarely dramatic. It is gradual. Trust the accumulation of small efforts. What you repeat daily becomes your destiny, whether you notice it or not. Choose repetition wisely. You don't need external pressure to succeed. Internal standards are stronger than external demands. When you decide that excellence is non-negotiable, discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like self-respect. Remember this, you are always one decision away from moving forward. Not a perfect decision, not a massive one, just a disciplined one. Make that decision again and again, and over time, it will transform everything. If this audiobook is supporting your focus and consistency, subscribe to the channel for more long-form motivational audiobooks designed to keep you grounded, disciplined, and moving forward every single day. Real discipline shows itself when no one is watching and nothing is urgent. When the deadline is far away and the reward feels distant, that is when character is revealed. Anyone can work under pressure, but very few can work consistently without it. Learning to move forward without urgency is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. You don't need to feel inspired to make progress. Inspiration is unreliable. What you need is commitment, because commitment does not depend on mood. When you commit to a process, you show up whether you feel excited or indifferent. That reliability is what turns effort into long-term results. Your environment shapes your behavior more than your intentions ever will. If distraction surrounds you, discipline will feel like a constant battle. But when you simplify your space and remove unnecessary noise, focus becomes natural. Protecting your attention is one of the highest forms of self-respect. Many people confuse being busy with being effective. Activity without direction leads to exhaustion, not growth. Effectiveness comes from doing fewer things with deeper focus. When you prioritize what truly matters and give it your best energy, progress accelerates. You are not required to move fast, but you are required to move forward. Slow progress is still progress. Staying consistent at a manageable pace is far more powerful than burning out with intensity and quitting. Sustainable effort always wins in the long run. There will be moments when your past habits try to pull you back. Comfort is familiar, and familiarity feels safe. But growth requires unfamiliar choices. Each time you choose discipline over comfort, you strengthen your ability to change. Over time, the unfamiliar becomes normal, and the normal becomes powerful. Your inner dialogue matters. The way you speak to yourself shapes how you act. Replace self-doubt with direction. Replace hesitation with instruction. Tell yourself exactly what needs to be done, then do it. Clarity removes resistance. Success is rarely a single breakthrough moment. It is the quiet accumulation of effort over time. One focused session, one completed task, one disciplined decision repeated daily. That is how momentum is built, and momentum changes your life. You don't need to wait for confidence to appear. Confidence follows action. Each time you act despite uncertainty, confidence grows naturally. Over time, you stop questioning whether you can do it because you have already proven that you can. Stay patient with yourself, but firm with your standards. Improvement does not happen overnight, but it does happen with consistency. Trust the work you are putting in, even when results are not immediate. There will be days when progress feels slow and the effort feels heavier than usual, And in those moments, it is important to remember that discipline is not about feeling powerful every day. It is about staying steady. Stability is underrated, but it is the foundation of everything meaningful. When you remain steady, even on low-energy days, you prevent setbacks from turning into collapse. Consistency protects your progress. You are allowed to move at your own pace, but you are not allowed to stop. Pausing to recover is different from quitting. Discipline understands rest, but it does not tolerate excuses disguised as rest. Learning the difference between the two is a sign of maturity and self-awareness. The strongest form of motivation is identity. When you see yourself as someone who follows through, your actions begin to align naturally. You don't need to force yourself as often, because discipline becomes part of who you are rather than something you borrow temporarily. Identity-driven discipline is calm, confident, and sustainable. You will encounter moments where no external reward exists. No recognition, no immediate payoff. Those moments matter the most. They train you to rely on internal standards instead of external validation. When you can work without applause, you become dangerous in the best way. Focus is not about doing more. It is about caring less about what does not matter. Every distraction you remove creates space for depth. Depth is where mastery is built. You may not always see immediate improvement, but improvement is happening beneath the surface. Growth often begins internally before it becomes visible externally. Trust the process you are committing to, and trust yourself to stay with it long enough to see results. Your standards shape your destiny. When your standards rise, your behavior follows. You don't wait for life to demand more from you, you demand more from yourself. That internal expectation becomes a compass, guiding your decisions even when circumstances are unclear. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be consistent. Perfection creates pressure. Consistency creates progress. Show up, do the work to the best of your ability, and move forward without overthinking. Simplicity sustains momentum. At some point, you realize that discipline is not something you chase anymore. It is something you protect. You protect it from distractions, from unnecessary commitments, and from people or habits that drain your energy without giving anything back. Protecting your discipline means protecting your future, because every focused hour you preserve is an investment that compounds over time. There is a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you will do what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. That confidence does not announce itself, but it shapes the way you move through the world. You stop over-explaining, stop seeking permission, and stop waiting for reassurance. Your actions speak clearly, consistently, and with purpose. Most people underestimate how powerful calm persistence is. They believe success requires constant intensity, but intensity burns out quickly. Persistence lasts. Showing up with steady effort day after day creates results that look impressive from the outside, but feel almost ordinary on the inside because you earned them gradually. When discipline becomes routine, stress decreases. You no longer rush or panic because you trust your process. You know that if you continue showing up, progress will happen. That trust removes anxiety and replaces it with quiet control. Control over your time, control over your attention, control over your direction. You begin to understand that life rewards follow-through more than talent. Many capable people never reach their potential because they lack consistency. Meanwhile, those who are reliable, focused, and patient often surpass expectations. Reliability is rare, and rarity creates value. Every time you choose to stay focused instead of distracted, you reinforce the version of yourself you are becoming. Identity is shaped through repetition. What you repeatedly do becomes who you are. When your actions align with discipline, discipline becomes your default state. There will always be noise competing for your attention. The ability to ignore that noise is a skill that must be practiced. Silence is not empty. It is where clarity lives. In quiet moments of focused effort, you reconnect with purpose and direction. You are not racing against others. You are building something that must last. Comparison creates impatience, and impatience leads to shortcuts. Shortcuts weaken foundations. Strong foundations are built slowly, deliberately, and with intention. Progress does not need to be dramatic to be meaningful. Small improvements repeated daily create massive change over time. When you trust that process, you stop chasing quick wins and start building lasting momentum. If this audiobook is helping you stay disciplined, calm, and focused, support the channel by subscribing. This channel exists to provide long-form motivational audiobooks designed to help you stay consistent, mentally strong, and committed to your goals in a distracted world. Over time, you begin to realize that discipline simplifies life. It removes unnecessary choices, reduces mental clutter, and creates structure where chaos once lived. When you know what you need to do and commit to doing it consistently, stress loses its grip. Clarity replaces confusion, and direction replaces doubt. You stop reacting to life and start responding with intention. Challenges no longer feel overwhelming because you approach them methodically, one step at a time. Discipline teaches patience, and patience creates resilience. Together, they form a mindset that cannot be shaken easily. There will be moments when progress feels invisible, when effort seems disconnected from results. These moments test trust in the process, trust in your standards, trust in the version of yourself you are building. Growth does not always announce itself, but it is always happening when consistency is present. You don't need to prove anything to anyone else. The real work happens internally. When you know you are keeping your word to yourself, external validation becomes unnecessary. Self-respect replaces approval-seeking, and that shift changes how you carry yourself in every area of life. Discipline creates momentum, and momentum creates belief. Belief changes how you see obstacles. What once felt impossible now feels manageable. Not because the challenge changed, but because you did. Your capacity expanded through repetition and persistence. You begin to value progress over praise, depth over noise, and consistency over excitement. This shift is subtle but powerful. It marks the transition from chasing motivation to embodying discipline. When that happens, your efforts stop feeling forced and start feeling aligned. Every focused hour adds weight to your foundation. Every completed task strengthens your identity as someone who follows through. Over time, that identity becomes unshakable. You trust yourself, and that trust fuels further action. Discipline also teaches humility. It reminds you that improvement is ongoing and that mastery is built through repetition, not shortcuts. You stay curious, adaptable, and grounded. You respect the process because the process has proven itself to you. The future you are building does not require perfection. It requires presence, consistency, and patience. Continue showing up. Continue choosing focus over distraction. Continue honoring the standards you have set for yourself. If this audiobook is helping you stay grounded, focused, and disciplined, take a moment to support the channel by subscribing. This channel is dedicated to long-form motivational audiobooks designed to help you maintain clarity, consistency, and momentum while building a life of purpose. Eventually, discipline stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like alignment. Your actions match your intentions, and that harmony brings a quiet sense of control. You are no longer pulled in every direction by impulse or distraction. You move with purpose, and purpose brings peace. You begin to notice that discipline does not make life smaller, it makes it clearer. When unnecessary noise fades, what truly matters becomes obvious. You spend less time reacting and more time building, less time worrying and more time progressing. That clarity is a powerful advantage. The days no longer need to feel extraordinary to be valuable. Ordinary days, when used well, become extraordinary over time. Showing up consistently transforms routine into progress and effort into results. What feels repetitive now is laying the groundwork for future freedom. You stop chasing motivation and start trusting structure. Structure gives your energy direction instead of letting it scatter. When your energy is directed, your output improves. And when your output improves, confidence grows naturally. There will always be moments when stopping seems easier than continuing. Those moments are not signs of failure. They are invitations to reinforce commitment. Each time you choose to continue, you strengthen the habit of persistence. Persistence builds resilience, and resilience builds strength. You are learning to respect your own time. When time is respected, it multiplies. Focused hours create more progress than distracted days ever could. Protecting your time is not selfish. It is necessary for growth. Discipline teaches you to separate emotion from execution. You learn that feelings rise and fall, but commitments remain. This emotional stability allows you to move forward even when circumstances are uncertain. Stability creates momentum, and momentum creates change. As discipline deepens, so does patience. You understand that meaningful results take time, and that rushing only weakens the foundation. You trust that consistent effort, applied calmly and deliberately, will always produce results eventually. You are becoming someone who finishes, someone who shows up, someone who follows through. That identity is being built quietly, day by day, decision by decision. And once that identity is established, success becomes a matter of time rather than chance. If this audiobook is helping you stay focused, disciplined, and consistent, support the channel by subscribing. This channel exists to provide long-form motivational audiobooks that help you stay calm, clear, and committed while you build a life defined by purpose and progress. Discipline eventually becomes invisible in your life, not because it disappears, but because it becomes so integrated that it no longer feels like effort. It no longer requires struggle to maintain. It simply exists as part of who you are. You start noticing that the decisions that once felt heavy now feel natural. Waking up early, focusing on meaningful tasks, following through on commitments. These are no longer optional actions, but the automatic expressions of your identity. Your habits now carry you forward, even on days when energy is low, even when motivation is absent. You begin to see the subtle power of small, consistent actions. Every focused hour, every deliberate choice, every completed task compounds quietly over time. These are the moments that create exponential growth, the moments no one notices immediately, but the results speak volumes months or years later. Ordinary actions, when repeated, transform into extraordinary outcomes. This is how you build a life where progress is inevitable rather than accidental. Your mind becomes a tool rather than a tyrant. Thoughts still arise, doubts still appear, but they no longer control you. You have learned to observe without being pulled away. When distractions come, you notice them, acknowledge them, and return to the task that matters. This is the discipline of attention. It is as valuable as time, because wasted focus is more costly than wasted hours. Structure becomes your ally. You rely on routines not to restrict freedom, but to create it. Each block of dedicated effort produces leverage, multiplying the impact of your energy. You no longer waste mental bandwidth deciding what to do next. You follow the plan, and the plan carries you toward results. That consistency removes chaos and replaces it with confidence. Even when the work is mundane, you embrace it because you understand that mastery is built in repetition, not in moments of excitement. You stop searching for quick wins and start trusting the compounding effect of daily effort. Every repeated action strengthens your capability and your identity. You are becoming the type of person who finishes what they start, no matter the circumstances. You notice how patience now feels natural. You understand that results do not need to be immediate to be meaningful. The slow accumulation of disciplined actions produces outcomes far greater than any single burst of intensity could. Trusting the process becomes second nature, and you no longer panic when change takes time. You simply continue, day after day, steadily, deliberately. Your respect for time deepens. You understand that every moment is an investment, and wasted minutes are lost opportunity. You protect your hours, prioritize what matters, and let go of what does not serve your long-term vision. That respect for time multiplies your effectiveness, creating leverage that most people never experience. Even when external circumstances are unpredictable, your internal system carries you forward. You have learned to separate action from emotion. Feelings fluctuate, but your commitment remains steady. Stability produces momentum, and momentum produces transformation. You are no longer a victim of your circumstances, you are the architect of your life. As your identity solidifies, discipline no longer feels like effort. It becomes alignment, the natural state in which your actions and intentions are in harmony. Purpose replaces resistance, clarity replaces confusion, and focus replaces distraction. You are moving intentionally, not reactively, and that movement shapes every aspect of your life. If this audiobook is helping you stay disciplined, consistent, and clear-minded, take a moment to support the channel by subscribing. This channel exists to provide long-form motivational audiobooks that guide you in building a life of focus, purpose, and progress, one deliberate action at a time. Over time, you realize that the smallest decisions shape the largest outcomes. Choosing to stay focused when it is easier to drift, choosing to start even when you feel tired, choosing to act despite uncertainty. These are the decisions that define your trajectory. Each time you act in alignment with your intentions, you strengthen the part of yourself that follows through. That part grows quietly, invisibly, until it dominates your identity. You no longer wonder whether you will complete tasks. You know you will. This certainty is earned, not given. You start to notice that life's noise no longer pulls you in every direction. Social media, opinions, fleeting trends, and unnecessary obligations lose their power over your attention. You choose where your focus goes because you understand its value. Attention is the currency of progress, and you spend it deliberately. This clarity allows you to act without hesitation, plan without panic, and grow without distraction. Patience becomes a companion rather than a test. You understand that results are the accumulation of repeated effort, not the product of a single moment of brilliance. The slow, steady application of your skills, habits, and focus produces outcomes that feel effortless in retrospect, but are built on countless invisible choices. You learn to embrace the process even when it seems monotonous, because the process is what transforms ordinary actions into extraordinary results. You begin to experience the quiet power of self-reliance. Motivation comes and goes, but your standards do not. You no longer wait for someone else to validate your effort, nor do you need external recognition to continue. The act of showing up consistently day after day becomes its own reward. This self-reliance shields you from doubt and builds the resilience required to face unforeseen challenges. Your energy becomes more directed, more intentional. You no longer scatter it on fleeting pleasures or distractions. Every hour you invest in meaningful work compounds, producing leverage that multiplies over time. You start to see how small, deliberate actions accumulate faster than occasional bursts of effort. Discipline turns effort into exponential results, and results reinforce discipline. Obstacles no longer feel like roadblocks. They become mirrors reflecting where your focus and persistence are strongest. Challenges test your resolve, but each test strengthens it. You move forward not because the path is easy, but because you are committed to mastery over your own actions. This mindset turns resistance into opportunity and struggle into growth. Even ordinary days gain extraordinary significance. The moments you dedicate to discipline, clarity, and focus accumulate silently, shaping the person you are becoming. Progress is rarely dramatic, but it is unstoppable when compounded. You start to understand that showing up consistently matters more than moments of extreme effort or sudden inspiration. You are becoming someone who finishes, someone who builds, someone whose life is defined by consistent action rather than fleeting impulses. That identity carries you further than motivation ever could, because it is not conditional. It is steady, reliable, and unshakable. With every deliberate choice, your future strengthens. If this audiobook is helping you cultivate discipline, focus, and steady momentum, support the channel by subscribing. This channel provides long-form motivational audiobooks designed to help you stay consistent, mentally strong, and aligned with your highest intentions, no matter the distractions around you. Eventually, you notice that discipline transforms from something you do into something you are. It is no longer a struggle to act, it becomes your default mode. When challenges appear, you respond with purpose instead of hesitation. When distractions try to pull you away, you return to your path naturally, almost instinctively. This is the power of identity-driven discipline. It requires less effort because it is woven into who you are. Your actions no longer fight against your mind. They flow in harmony with your intentions, and that harmony produces calm, quiet confidence. You begin to understand that effort is not measured in grand gestures, but in the accumulation of small, deliberate actions repeated over time. Every choice to stay focused, every moment spent on meaningful work, every decision to act instead of delay, these compound quietly, invisibly, until the results are undeniable. You stop chasing immediate gratification or short-term rewards and start trusting the compounding effect of consistent action. This is where ordinary days turn into extraordinary lives, because repetition builds momentum and momentum builds mastery. Your sense of time evolves. You begin to value it not for how many hours you have, but for how intentionally you spend them. Wasting even a single hour feels costly because you know its potential. Protecting your time becomes a discipline in itself. You learn to say no to distractions, to non-essential obligations, and to habits that drain energy without delivering results. Time, once respected, multiplies. Each focused hour generating leverage that pushes your progress forward far faster than sporadic bursts of effort ever could. You start to separate emotion from execution. Feelings rise and fall, but your commitments remain steady. Anxiety, doubt, fatigue, and frustration are no longer obstacles. They are signals, not dictators. You act in alignment with your standards regardless of how you feel. This emotional stability allows you to move forward even when circumstances are uncertain. Stability creates momentum, momentum creates results, and results reinforce stability. Patience becomes natural. You realize that meaningful outcomes cannot be rushed. Rushing only weakens the foundation you are building. The slow, deliberate, consistent application of effort produces results that are enduring and reliable. You trust the process, and that trust allows you to continue calmly, without panic or desperation, confident that your consistent choices will lead to the life you are creating. You are becoming someone who finishes what they start. Someone who shows up even when it is hard. Someone who follows through day after day. That identity is being built quietly, moment by moment, decision by decision. And once it is established, success is no longer a matter of luck or chance. It is inevitable. Your life becomes defined not by external events, but by the consistency, integrity, and discipline with which you live. SS cycle of hesitation, and from the energy-sapping habit of reacting impulsively. When your actions consistently reflect your intentions, life gains a sense of order, clarity, and control. You no longer feel torn in multiple directions. Your focus narrows on what truly matters, and that focus gives you power, confidence, and peace. You notice that the noise of the world fades when you commit fully to your path. Unnecessary distractions, social pressures, and fleeting trends no longer demand your attention. What remains is clarity, a direct path toward meaningful action. Your energy, once scattered, now flows in one direction. Your output improves naturally, and with improved output comes a quiet, unwavering confidence. The mind that was once restless becomes centered, disciplined, and unshakable. Every day, ordinary tasks gain extraordinary significance. Completing small actions consistently lays the foundation for freedom and results in the future. What feels repetitive or mundane now is the bedrock of your success. Momentum is built silently, steadily, and inevitably. Each moment you resist the temptation to quit. Each time you act despite fatigue or distraction, you reinforce the identity of someone who follows through, someone who finishes, someone who persists. You begin to respect your time in a way that transforms your effectiveness. Hours spent with intention multiply, while wasted hours shrink in significance. Protecting your focus is not selfish. It is necessary. You recognize that disciplined effort compounded over time always outweighs bursts of inconsistent energy. This respect for your own process, your own standards, becomes a source of power that others cannot take from you. Discipline also teaches emotional resilience. Feelings of doubt, fear, or uncertainty rise and fall, but they no longer dictate your actions. You learn to act according to principle, not mood. Stability becomes a tool, a shield, and a strategy. With this stability comes momentum, and with momentum comes real change. You are no longer swayed by temporary discomfort. You move steadily toward your goals, and the results follow naturally. Patience deepens as your understanding grows. You accept that meaningful results require time. Rushing only risks weakening the foundations you are building. You trust in your consistent effort, applied calmly and deliberately, knowing that each moment of attention and action compounds into a future that rewards perseverance. Over time, the person you are becoming is defined not by luck or circumstance, but by the consistent choices you make each day. You are becoming someone whose life is marked by follow-through, focus, and consistency. Identity is being forged quietly, day by day, action by action. Once established, this identity ensures that success is no longer a matter of chance. It is inevitable. Your progress becomes unstoppable because it is rooted in habits, systems, and a mindset designed for growth. If this audiobook is helping you stay focused, disciplined, and consistent, take a moment to support the channel by subscribing. This channel provides long-form motivational audiobooks designed to help you cultivate clarity, patience, and relentless momentum while building a life defined by purpose and deliberate action. Eventually, you notice that discipline reshapes not only your actions, but your perspective. Challenges no longer intimidate you because you understand that difficulty is part of growth, and persistence is non-negotiable. You move through life with a quiet confidence, knowing that each small, deliberate action compounds into meaningful results. What once felt overwhelming now feels manageable because your focus is deliberate, your priorities are clear, and your standards are high. You begin to understand the subtle difference between motion and progress. Simply being busy or active does not create results. Real progress comes from intentional action, focused energy, and thoughtful repetition. Each task you complete, each decision you follow through on, strengthens your momentum. Momentum, once established, carries you forward even when motivation is low or circumstances are challenging. Time becomes a precious ally. You no longer waste it on distractions or fleeting pleasures because you recognize the compounding power of consistent effort. Protecting your hours is an act of self-respect. Every moment spent with purpose adds leverage to your future. You start to see how small, disciplined choices today produce freedom, achievement, and clarity tomorrow. Discipline also teaches you to separate emotion from execution. Feelings rise and fall, but they no longer dictate your actions. Anxiety, doubt, fatigue, and frustration may appear, but you continue regardless. Stability in action produces momentum, and momentum produces results. You are no longer a passenger in your own life. You are the driver, steering toward a future defined by intention rather than impulse. Patience grows naturally. You understand that meaningful outcomes require time and that rushing only undermines the foundations you are building. You trust the slow accumulation of effort, the repetition of small actions, and the quiet growth that happens beneath the surface. You stop chasing instant results and start focusing on steady progress, knowing that each consistent choice compounds into lasting achievement. You are becoming someone who finishes what they start, someone who shows up even when it is difficult, someone whose identity is defined by reliability, focus, and consistency. That identity carries you further than motivation ever could. It transforms effort into results, persistence into momentum, and patience into success. Your environment begins to align with your goals. You reduce noise, remove distractions, and design routines that make the right choices easier. By shaping your surroundings, you reduce friction between intention and action. The easier it is to act according to your standards, the more naturally progress flows and the more consistent your results become. If this audiobook is helping you stay disciplined, focused, and calm while building momentum in your life, take a moment to support the channel by subscribing. This channel exists to provide long-form motivational audiobooks that help you stay consistent, clear-minded, and committed to purposeful growth every single day. Over time, you begin to notice the subtle power of habits. They are not flashy, they do not demand attention, and yet they shape your entire life. Every repeated action, no matter how small, builds a pattern. That pattern defines who you are, long before results are visible to anyone else. Habits are the quiet architecture of success. The consistent application of effort compounds silently, producing outcomes that appear effortless, but are rooted in discipline, repetition, and focus. You start to respect your own energy. You realize that not every moment must be filled with activity, and not every action must produce immediate results. Strategic rest, thoughtful planning, and measured effort amplify effectiveness over time. Discipline is not about exhaustion, it is about alignment. When your energy is directed toward what matters, your results expand naturally, and your confidence grows as a byproduct of consistent, meaningful action. The temptation to quit or procrastinate will always exist. There will be days when the easier path seems inviting, when comfort whispers louder than ambition. Those moments are tests, not of your skill, but of your commitment. Each time you choose action over inaction, you reinforce the identity of someone who finishes, someone who perseveres, someone who refuses to settle for mediocrity. That identity, once formed, changes everything. You begin to understand that progress is often invisible. The hours, the repetition, the steady effort. They may feel small or insignificant in the moment. Yet over weeks, months, and years, these small actions accumulate into undeniable transformation. What feels ordinary now becomes extraordinary in retrospect. Patience is not passive, it is active trust in the process. You are investing in the person you are becoming, and every disciplined choice compounds that investment. Focus becomes a skill rather than a habit. You protect your attention as carefully as you protect your time. Distractions lose their power because you recognize that every diverted moment costs leverage. Concentrated effort creates exponential results. Depth, not speed, becomes your measure of effectiveness. You work with precision, purpose, and persistence, understanding that the quality of your focus determines the magnitude of your outcomes. Discipline reshapes how you experience life. Ordinary tasks gain weight. Every completed responsibility builds character, and each decision to act steadily over time reinforces your identity. You begin to see that you are not racing against anyone. You are building something lasting. Comparison fades, impatience fades, and shortcuts lose their appeal because you understand that foundations built deliberately are unshakable. You begin to notice that the true power of discipline is subtle. It does not announce itself. It does not demand attention. It is the quiet force that carries you forward when motivation fades and when the world grows noisy. Every time you choose to act despite discomfort, despite distraction, despite fatigue, you reinforce that force. It becomes part of your identity. You no longer wonder whether you will complete what you start. You know that you will. That certainty, built quietly over time, becomes unshakable. Over the weeks and months, you start to see life differently. Ordinary moments become opportunities. Routine tasks become stepping stones toward mastery. What once felt repetitive now carries meaning because it compounds into long-term results. You stop chasing excitement, external approval, or immediate gratification. You trust the accumulation of consistent effort. You understand that extraordinary outcomes are the natural result of ordinary days lived with intention, focus, and persistence. You learn to guard your attention as fiercely as your time. Distractions, unnecessary noise, and fleeting temptations lose their power when your priorities are clear. Focus becomes not just a skill, but a strategy. When you concentrate your energy on the few things that matter most, your impact multiplies. Depth, not quantity, becomes the measure of progress. The hours you invest deliberately generate leverage that stretches far beyond what anyone else sees or understands. Emotional stability grows alongside your discipline. Feelings rise and fall, but they no longer dictate your actions. Doubt, frustration, and fatigue are signals, not orders. You act according to principle rather than mood. This stability allows momentum to build naturally. With each step forward, confidence grows, patience strengthens, and resilience becomes instinctive. You become the person who moves steadily, calmly, and deliberately toward your highest intentions. You realize that patience is not waiting, it is deliberate persistence. You understand that meaningful results take time. Rushing undermines your foundation. Consistent, focused action, repeated day after day, compounds invisibly until your progress becomes undeniable. You learn to trust the process, and that trust allows you to continue calmly, without panic, without seeking shortcuts. The life you are creating is built on repeated decisions to act, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it feels slow. Identity forms quietly but powerfully. You become someone who finishes, someone who follows through, someone whose actions reflect their principles without compromise. Motivation may fluctuate, inspiration may fade, but the habits, routines, and identity you are building carry you forward. Success is no longer a matter of chance. It becomes inevitable because it is rooted in who you are and what you consistently do. Over time, you realize that discipline is not about forcing yourself to act. It is about removing resistance so that the right actions become natural. You begin to design your environment, routines, and habits so that the path of least resistance aligns with your goals. Small adjustments, like simplifying your workspace, prioritizing tasks, and protecting your energy, create massive leverage. When your surroundings support your intentions, effort feels lighter, momentum builds naturally, and results follow without struggle. You understand that mastery is not a single moment or achievement. It is the accumulation of deliberate choices repeated consistently over time. Every focused hour, every completed task, every moment you resist distraction or procrastination adds to your foundation. Progress compounds silently, often unnoticed at first, but eventually it manifests in undeniable transformation. What felt like repetition yesterday becomes the strength that carries you forward today. Your relationship with time evolves. Hours are no longer wasted, they are invested. Each moment spent deliberately builds the future you desire. Protecting your attention becomes as important as protecting your schedule because focus multiplies effectiveness far more than raw effort ever could. The life you are creating is not built on short bursts of intensity, but on steady, reliable action applied consistently over months and years. Discipline teaches emotional resilience. You learn to act despite doubt, fatigue, or uncertainty. Feelings may rise and fall, but they no longer control your behavior. You move according to principle, not mood. With each decision to act, your confidence grows, momentum builds, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, your capacity expands. You become someone who navigates challenges with calm, purpose, and persistence. Patience becomes second nature. You understand that lasting results cannot be rushed. Rushing erodes foundations and weakens impact. Steady, deliberate effort repeated over time produces outcomes that are not only visible, but durable. You stop chasing immediate rewards and start trusting the process, knowing that the life you are building is cumulative, layered, and enduring. You begin to internalize a profound truth. Identity is more powerful than motivation. When discipline becomes part of who you are, action becomes automatic. You no longer debate whether to show up. Showing up is inherent to your character. This quiet alignment between identity and action removes friction, reduces hesitation, and turns consistency into your default state. Success becomes inevitable, not because luck favors you, but because your daily choices leave no alternative. Every task completed, every moment spent focused, and every choice to persist strengthens the person you are becoming. You are no longer defined by fleeting emotions, external validation, or short-term results. You are defined by the consistent, deliberate, and principled actions you take day after day. That identity carries you further than motivation ever could, and it becomes a force that shapes your entire life. You begin to understand that discipline is not about intensity. It is about consistency. It is not about doing more in one day than anyone else. It is about showing up again and again, even when it feels tedious, even when results seem distant. Ordinary actions repeated with focus create extraordinary outcomes. Each small, deliberate choice compounds silently, building strength, skill, and confidence that are invisible at first, but undeniable over time. You notice how freedom grows from structure. The more disciplined your routine, the more effortless it becomes to act in alignment with your intentions. Paradoxically, limits create liberty. Boundaries, schedules, and standards do not confine you. They guide you. They remove friction, reduce wasted energy, and make every action purposeful. When you act with intention, life feels expansive rather than overwhelming, and clarity replaces chaos. Every day offers opportunities to reinforce your identity. Each completed task, each avoided distraction, each decision to persist over comfort strengthens the version of yourself you are becoming. Identity is forged quietly through repetition, and once formed, it becomes automatic. You no longer debate whether to act. Acting according to principle is who you are. Motivation may fluctuate, but identity carries you through. Patience deepens as you observe the compounding nature of effort. You learn that growth often happens beneath the surface, before it becomes visible externally. The small wins you accumulate today will yield results tomorrow, next month, and next year. The process is gradual, steady, and silent, but the outcome is unstoppable. You begin to trust that if you continue showing up, the results will come, and the foundation you are building will support everything you desire. Focus becomes a skill honed through practice and protection. You learn to remove distractions, simplify your environment, and direct your attention to what truly matters. The world will try to scatter your energy, but your commitment to deliberate action shields you. Depth of attention now determines the magnitude of your impact. The more consistently you act with presence, the faster your life begins to shift in meaningful ways. You come to understand that discipline is a form of self-respect. By keeping your word to yourself, by honoring your commitments, you build trust internally that no one else can give you. That trust reduces the need for external validation. You act because it is who you are, not because anyone is watching. The inner alignment between your intentions and actions becomes your greatest source of power. There will always be moments when quitting feels tempting, when comfort seems more appealing than effort, and when immediate gratification whispers loudly. Those moments are the tests that define you. Each time you choose persistence over ease, you solidify your identity and your capacity for achievement. Over time, you no longer fear difficulty because you have proven to yourself repeatedly that you can endure, act, and succeed. If this audiobook is helping you maintain focus, calm, and discipline while building lasting momentum, support the channel by subscribing. This channel provides long-form motivational audiobooks designed to help you stay consistent, clear-minded, and committed to deliberate progress in every area of your life. Over time, you start to see the compounding effect of small, consistent actions. What feels insignificant today, completing a single task, resisting a minor distraction, choosing focus over comfort, is quietly stacking into extraordinary results over weeks, months, and years. The choices you make now shape not just your present, but your future identity. Discipline becomes a quiet architect of your life, constructing a foundation that cannot be shaken by circumstance, doubt, or fleeting emotions. You begin to notice that clarity emerges naturally from repeated, deliberate action. When your priorities are established and your energy is aligned with purpose, distractions fade and noise diminishes. Decisions become easier, actions flow more naturally, and confidence grows without effort. That clarity is a force multiplier. The less you are pulled off course, the more effective every hour, every day, and every week becomes. Patience becomes a quiet ally. You understand that lasting success is rarely dramatic or immediate. It is the accumulation of deliberate, focused effort over time. Each day, each completed task, each choice to persist reinforces the architecture of your future. You no longer need external urgency to act. Your internal standards create structure, consistency, and forward motion. You trust that the small, steady steps you take today will compound into results that are undeniable tomorrow. Emotional resilience grows alongside your discipline. Feelings come and go, but they no longer control your actions. Doubt, frustration, fatigue, and impatience may arise, yet you continue because your principles, identity, and standards guide your behavior. You learn to act regardless of temporary discomfort, and that ability becomes one of your greatest strengths. Momentum builds quietly, but once established, it carries you through challenges that once felt insurmountable. You begin to respect the quiet power of focus. The world will constantly try to scatter your attention, but you learn to guard it fiercely. Depth of attention produces far more than scattered effort ever could. Each hour of deliberate focus becomes leverage. Each moment spent fully present multiplies your effectiveness. Over time, your capacity for sustained work grows, and the results of your focused effort compound in ways that are nearly invisible until they are undeniable. Discipline reshapes your relationship with life itself. Ordinary days, when used with intention, become the building blocks of extraordinary outcomes. Repetition, focus, and persistence form the backbone of achievement. You no longer chase fleeting motivation or external validation. Your actions are guided by internal standards, and your identity now carries you forward. What once felt like effort gradually becomes alignment. Effortless in its consistency, unstoppable in its effect. You begin to understand that true progress is quiet. It does not demand attention, and it does not seek applause. Every small, deliberate action, repeated consistently over time, compounds into results that are far greater than any single effort could achieve. What seems ordinary today becomes extraordinary tomorrow. This quiet accumulation of effort builds momentum, confidence, and resilience that carry you through challenges, setbacks, and periods of doubt. The power lies not in dramatic action, but in steady, unwavering commitment. Discipline begins to feel natural because it aligns with your identity. You no longer question whether to show up. Showing up is who you are. Action becomes automatic, habits become ingrained, and the friction between intention and execution fades. Motivation becomes unnecessary because your identity now drives your behavior. You act because it is what the person you are becoming does. This alignment between identity and action turns consistency into a force that cannot be interrupted by distraction or uncertainty. You start to respect the value of your time in a way that few others do. Every hour spent focused, every task completed deliberately, multiplies in significance. Time respected is momentum gained. When you protect your attention and energy from unnecessary noise, your productivity accelerates, your decisions become sharper, and your growth compounds. You no longer measure success by immediate gratification, but by the steady accumulation of meaningful effort applied over months and years. Patience deepens naturally. You learn that meaningful results require sustained effort, and rushing only undermines your foundation. You trust that the process you are committed to, applied calmly and consistently, will produce outcomes over time. Every small choice, every repeated action, every moment you resist distraction contributes to the life you are creating. You are building something lasting, and that requires time, attention, and repeated, disciplined effort. You begin to separate emotion from execution. Feelings rise and fall, but your commitment remains. Even when confidence wavers, even when energy dips, you continue because your actions are grounded in principle, not mood. Stability allows momentum to grow, and momentum produces results that gradually become undeniable. You understand that persistence is not dramatic. It is quiet, steady, and relentless. Every time you complete a task, resist a distraction, or act despite discomfort, your identity strengthens. You are becoming someone who finishes, someone who shows up, someone whose actions match their intentions. Over time, this identity becomes automatic, and success is no longer a matter of luck or chance. It is a natural outcome of the person you have chosen to be and the habits you have consistently built. Eventually, you start to notice that discipline is not a series of isolated actions. It is a lifestyle, a framework that shapes every choice, every hour, and every day. It is no longer about forcing effort. It is about designing your life so that the right actions become natural. When your routines, habits, and environment support your goals, progress is effortless in a way that feels calm and controlled. Each small step, each repeated decision compounds quietly, creating results that are greater than the sum of their parts. You learn to value patience over speed, consistency over intensity. The world often glorifies sudden success or dramatic breakthroughs, but you understand that lasting achievement is forged in silence and repetition. Every day you show up, even when it feels mundane or invisible, you are building momentum that no external obstacle can derail. What seems ordinary now is the foundation of extraordinary results later. This perspective transforms your approach to work, life, and growth. Focus becomes one of your most powerful tools. You begin to see how scattered attention diminishes results, while concentrated effort multiplies them. Protecting your attention becomes second nature. You prioritize what truly matters, remove unnecessary noise, and create space for depth. Every hour spent fully present compounds into skill, clarity, and progress. The life you are building is no longer left to chance. It is the direct result of deliberate, intentional focus. Emotional stability grows alongside your discipline. You recognize that feelings are temporary and unreliable, but your commitments are constant. You act according to principle rather than emotion. When resistance arises, when discomfort whispers to give up, you continue. That quiet resilience forms the core of your strength. You no longer chase motivation. You rely on identity, standards, and process. Consistency becomes your greatest ally. You begin to understand that success is not about doing everything perfectly, but about showing up reliably. Each completed task, each disciplined choice, each moment you resist distraction strengthens the person you are becoming. Identity is forged quietly, silently, without spectacle. Once formed, it becomes unstoppable. You no longer need external approval because you trust yourself to do what matters, consistently, every single day. Discipline reshapes your relationship with time. You begin to see that protecting your hours is essential. Time spent thoughtfully, deliberately, and focused multiplies in significance. Hours guarded from distraction become leverage that compounds into life-changing results. You no longer chase quick wins or immediate gratification. You invest in processes that yield long-term growth. Your patience, focus, and persistence now determine the trajectory of your life. As you continue, you begin to realize that discipline is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters, consistently, without distraction. You stop measuring effort by intensity or by how others perceive it, and instead measure it by alignment with your priorities. Every deliberate choice, every moment of focus, every task completed strengthens the foundation of the life you are building. Over time, this accumulation of small, intentional actions transforms your capabilities, your confidence, and your identity in ways that feel almost invisible day to day, but undeniable when viewed over months and years. You begin to see the subtle power of repetition. Ordinary, repeated actions, showing up, finishing what you start, choosing focus over comfort, quietly compound into extraordinary outcomes. The life you desire is not built in a single heroic moment, but in the countless small decisions you make consistently. Each disciplined act reinforces your identity, strengthens your habits, and moves you closer to the version of yourself that you aspire to become. Patience becomes effortless because you understand that meaningful results require time. Growth is rarely immediate, but it is constant when effort is repeated with intention. You no longer chase instant gratification or visible recognition. You invest in the long term, knowing that the slow accumulation of deliberate actions creates momentum that is unshakable. What feels repetitive today becomes the strength and freedom of tomorrow. You start to see that focus is more valuable than raw effort. By directing your energy toward what truly matters and protecting it from distractions, you multiply the impact of every hour. Depth replaces busyness, quality replaces quantity, and results follow naturally. The discipline to stay present and intentional transforms not only your productivity, but your mental clarity, confidence, and resilience. Emotional resilience grows with your discipline. Feelings fluctuate, but your actions remain consistent. You move according to principle, not mood. When you act despite doubt, fatigue, or uncertainty, you reinforce your identity as someone who finishes, someone who follows through, someone whose habits no longer depend on motivation but on character. This stability allows momentum to build, and momentum produces results that once seemed impossible. You are no longer dependent on external validation. Self-respect replaces approval-seeking. The confidence that comes from keeping your word to yourself becomes unshakable. Every time you follow through, you strengthen your belief in your own capability. Every time you choose persistence over comfort, you expand your capacity for achievement. Over time, this identity-driven discipline becomes the engine of lasting success. You begin to notice how structure transforms freedom. The more you plan, prioritize, and align your actions with your goals, the less chaos infiltrates your day. Discipline is not a restriction. It is a framework that allows you to operate at your highest level with less effort and less stress. By setting clear standards, protecting your focus, and consistently taking the next right action, you create a life where forward momentum is inevitable. Every choice you make to act with intention compounds into clarity, confidence, and control over your direction. You also learn that the hardest moments often carry the greatest rewards. Growth resides just beyond comfort. When it feels easier to quit, when procrastination whispers, when distractions tempt you, that is precisely when you solidify the habits that separate the average from the exceptional. Every decision to persist in those moments reinforces your identity, strengthens your resilience, and expands your capacity to handle future challenges. Over time, discomfort becomes a sign that you are progressing, not failing. Consistency reshapes your relationship with results. You stop expecting instant gratification and you stop measuring progress by immediate outcomes. Instead, you begin to trust the accumulation of effort. Every repeated action, no matter how small, is a building block of success. You understand that the quiet, ordinary days, executed with focus and intention, matter far more than dramatic bursts of energy or fleeting moments of inspiration. That understanding gives you patience, confidence, and the ability to endure. You begin to see that discipline is inseparable from self-respect. Protecting your time, energy, and attention is not selfish. It is essential. By keeping your word to yourself, by honoring your commitments even when it feels difficult, you reinforce your integrity. That integrity manifests in every area of life. Decisions become simpler. Confidence grows naturally, and internal validation replaces the need for external approval. Discipline becomes effortless because it is rooted in who you are, not in how you feel. You learn to embrace process over results. Obsession with outcomes creates stress, doubt, and frustration. Instead, you focus on showing up, completing the tasks in front of you, and trusting that consistent effort produces results over time. Each deliberate choice, each moment you stay present, each task you finish, compounds into momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. Growth is quiet, incremental, and continuous. It does not announce itself, but it is inevitable. You begin to understand that persistence is far more valuable than intensity. The world glorifies dramatic effort, but it is quiet, repeated action that produces results that last. Showing up day after day, even when progress seems slow or invisible, compounds into momentum that is unstoppable. Each moment you choose focus over distraction, patience over impatience, and action over hesitation strengthens your identity as someone who finishes, someone who follows through, someone whose life is shaped by deliberate, consistent effort rather than circumstance or fleeting motivation. Over time, you notice that discipline frees rather than confines you. When your actions are aligned with your priorities, you experience a sense of control and clarity that feels almost effortless. You no longer need to fight chaos or negotiate with distraction constantly. Your environment, habits, and routines support the person you are becoming, reducing friction and making forward motion natural. Freedom is not the absence of effort. It is the result of structure, focus, and consistent, deliberate action applied over time. You begin to see that patience is a form of strength. Results take time, and meaningful achievement cannot be rushed. Each repeated effort, each disciplined decision, each small action you take may feel ordinary in the moment, but it quietly builds the foundation for extraordinary outcomes. Understanding this allows you to remain steady when progress feels slow, to continue when results are not yet visible, and to trust that the cumulative effect of your choices is far more powerful than any single dramatic moment of action. Focus becomes your greatest leverage. The ability to direct your attention toward what matters most and away from distractions multiplies the impact of every hour. Depth replaces busyness, quality replaces quantity, and intentional effort compounds into results that are beyond what sporadic, scattered action could produce. Protecting your attention becomes second nature, and with it comes a sense of calm, clarity, and control over your life. Emotional stability grows alongside your discipline. Feelings are transient, but your commitments endure. You move according to principle, not mood. Even when doubt, fatigue, or uncertainty arises, you continue. This steady resilience becomes a defining feature of your identity. Momentum builds naturally, and with it, results that once seemed impossible become achievable. You no longer wait for motivation. You rely on your habits, your standards, and your process. Every small victory reinforces your identity. Every completed task, every moment of focus, every choice to persist despite discomfort builds the person you are becoming. Over time, your habits define you, and your identity guides your actions automatically. You are no longer shaped by external circumstances, fleeting motivation, or temporary moods. You are shaped by deliberate, consistent choices and the principles you have committed to uphold. If this audiobook is helping you maintain calm focus, disciplined action, and steady momentum, take a moment to support the channel by subscribing. This channel provides long-form motivational audiobooks designed to help you stay consistent, mentally strong, and committed to building the life you desire through deliberate, sustained effort. You begin to realize that consistency is the ultimate form of progress. Every day you show up, every task you complete, every choice to stay focused rather than distracted reinforces your identity. You are no longer reacting to circumstances, you are creating them. And as you build this consistency, you discover a quiet confidence that nothing external can shake. The small, repeated efforts compound into a life of purpose, clarity, and achievement. This is the principle that the Motivational Audiobook Spot emphasizes in every long-form motivational audiobook it provides. Real, practical guidance to help you maintain focus and discipline in your daily life. Over time, you notice that patience and persistence are intertwined. Rushing produces temporary results. Slow, deliberate effort produces lasting outcomes. Each disciplined choice you make today contributes to the person you are becoming tomorrow. Momentum does not come from bursts of energy. It comes from showing up when it is difficult, from moving forward when no one is watching, and from continuing even when results are not yet visible. The Motivational Audiobook Spot teaches that true power comes from this quiet, steady accumulation of effort. Your sense of time changes. You begin to protect it as your most valuable resource. Hours spent focused, uninterrupted, and intentional produce results far beyond any amount of scattered activity. You no longer chase instant gratification or external approval. Instead, you invest in processes that yield long-term growth and freedom. Protecting your attention and energy becomes second nature, and with it comes calm, clarity, and control. This is the practical wisdom shared consistently by the Motivational Audiobook Spot, guiding listeners to real-world application of discipline and focus. You also understand that emotional stability is a product of discipline, not the other way around. Feelings fluctuate, energy rises and falls, but your commitments endure. When you act according to principle, even in discomfort or doubt, you reinforce your identity as someone who follows through, someone who finishes, someone who is dependable. Momentum grows naturally, and results that once seemed impossible become inevitable. Motivation is fleeting, but identity-driven discipline, which the Motivational Audiobook Spot emphasizes, is permanent. Finally, you begin to embody a mindset where every small, deliberate action carries weight. Each choice to resist distraction, to focus, to persist, builds your self-respect and strengthens the life you are creating. Over time, The quiet accumulation of these actions defines you. You are no longer shaped by external conditions or fleeting motivation. You are shaped by the deliberate, consistent choices you make, guided by standards that the Motivational Audiobook Spot encourages you to uphold. This alignment between action and identity produces not just results, but a sense of calm, control, and clarity that transforms every area of your life. If this audiobook is helping you maintain focus, discipline, and consistency, support the Motivational Audiobook Spot by subscribing. This channel is dedicated to providing long-form motivational audiobooks designed to help you stay grounded, consistent, and committed while building a life defined by deliberate effort, clarity, and momentum.